So
I think if you're trying to introduce the Young Bucks to a national audience, it always makes me think back to the Hardy Boys when they first started in WWF, and they got really hot by their big matches with Edge and Christian, and also I remember they had a pretty good little feud with the APA because they're the little guys that are always getting their asses kicked, and they present the Young Bucks like they're tough guys. And they don't look like tough guys. They don't sound like tough guys. You know, the best part of this whole thing was Anderson and Gallows came out, and I liked when Jim Ross called them the two yahoos from Impact Wrestling.
But let me tell you, Randy, here's where I think one of the problems that gets like me in disco. If you only had like somebody that was ahead of like quality control, who's sitting down with the Young Bucks and they're saying, okay, this is the story we're going to tell, and this is how we're going to tell it. And we're going to go out there and we're going to show, have a connection between the people and the dad. Don't just do a gratuitous thing where you beat him up and he bleeds and we're supposed to feel sorry for him just because he's their dad. And help them produce segments so they can get that part out of them. There's a lot of stuff that they're still missing, and they have the resources to do it and they're not doing it.
Do you think then they're not utilizing the guys like Arn Anderson and those other old timers that are in the back? They're like, why do I care about their dad?
Well, here's you know
what I mean? That's what we keep saying when they have the resources. Guys, they're not using them.
Let me ask you a question. If you had $8 billion, okay, and you didn't have a lot of responsibility in life, like, what are you going to do for a living, And you're a fan, you're obviously a fan of professional wrestling because you join our Patreon, and, you know enough about professional wrestling to, engage with us and, be involved, right? So, if you, you have the money to buy in, what would be your vision of, okay, I'm buying in a company, this is my company, I'm calling the shots, right? What would be your vision of what you would want to do? If, let's say, and I'm asking, everybody this question. If you had the money and you could buy a professional wrestling organization, you start one, like Tony Khan did, what would be your vision? And would what they're presenting on TV right now, what would you correct about what they're doing, and what would you agree with what they're doing? Right? So let's just go around the table and see what people think about this. Dr. Funkenstein.
At the bottom, Dr. Funkenstein, you can go first.
Goddamn, man. I smoked. That was a long question. Here's what I'll say, man. I think the pace of the first hour was really good. I think just people have to be a little bit more in tune with how people view them, right? If you look at the Young Bucks, I think a lot of their people on the show, you look at them and you see one thing and they act like another. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not going to go long-winded on this, but when you see the Young Bucks, I watched them a lot back in the day, but whenever I did, they were always kind of trolling, yelling, suck it, jumping around, being annoying, and that's kind of how they look. That's how I would perceive them to be. And now every time I see them, they come out all real and serious and shit, and it just doesn't make sense.
All right, good point, Randy.
Well, I'm 42. I grew up on the big guys and the 90s stuff. So the stuff that bugs me, I know we haven't got to it yet, but for example, the Sting and Darby versus Taz's guys, and today they all ran out of the ring scared of basically, let's call it like it is, a little tiny guy and an old man, and there's these two gigantic muscled up dudes well, this, let's just go in there and whoop their ass.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'd want to see. Yeah. It's just a different time.
Confusing, creative.
And the other thing is I don't know if this answers your question or not, but if I was the money guy, I'd be well, wait a minute, we can't even crack 1 million people. If a couple months down the road, we brought in Shaq, we brought in these Japan guys, we did the Impact Wrestling thing, we brought in Big Show, and we still can't crack 1 million, I'd be well, what the hell are we doing here?
Right.
I mean, we're not growing at all, and we've done all these things that everybody says, this is what you got to do, wouldn't it be great, Forbidden Door, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be me.
Well, I just want to interject one thing, is that I had the post show on, whatever that was, the There was an AEW show on it.
Countdown.
The countdown. I had it on while I was waiting for you guys. And Taz tried to explain that, actually. So you have guys there that are trying to explain the shit that they don't agree with, like JR does on commentary. So Taz said, I keep hearing people say, why are we running away from two guys when we're bigger and Sting's older and Darby's smaller? Why are we doing that? And he says, those people have never been in a street fight, and they don't know that you need to pick your spot.
Yeah, but
So he tried to explain it, you know?
This is
There is no
mistakes.
explanation for what
Yeah.
you just said.
But
Because it almost looks like he was saying, you've got all these guys, Hobbs, Hook, Taz, Cage, and Darby Allin and Sting beat them up again.
Let me give you a graphic description of stuff like this. So, years and years and years ago, like 18 years ago, right? My old roommate was a flight attendant, attractive girl. She's like my sister today, but like we best friends. Like, but she's not a wrestling fan, so we turn like wrestling on every once in a while. And like this is back when when Nash and Hogan and Hall came back to WWE and were doing the NWO, right? And there was a spot on the show, we're watching it, and like Austin is out there, and the NWO guys are out there, and Austin is chasing off Nash, Hall, and Hogan.
Yeah.
And he's running them off. And she's like, this is a person who does not watch wrestling, does not care, she's not a fan. And says, why are they running away from us, three big guys? And like these questions in booking are like never, very, very rarely asked. Like they just do it. They just like but like the logic of like when you're selling this product to people beyond outside this bubble, this is an important question to ask.
Well, in that case,
it's like we gotta tighten up the logic. And it does not exist. So go ahead.
it was reported a lot that Austin was just paranoid at that time. He didn't want to sell for guys that were coming in. He wasn't happy with Vince. A lot of that was Austin being a pain in the ass, believe it or not. So that was probably him putting his foot down and going, these guys aren't leaving me laying. I'm leaving them laying. I'm the guy that's been here and like that. And them letting him get away with it.
So the next, what do we talk about already?
Did we ever do Eric Bischoff with the?
No, we're not there. We're not there yet.
We
We're
sped
not there.
past.
Okay,
We did. We talked about Eric
no.
and then the guy from Bleacher Report.
Let me read this and then we'll discuss. A woman stood behind a podium that was.
Whoa.
Come on, dude.
That's the third time. Let's go. It's the third.
How up are
It's the
you?
third time you read that. That's the third
You've
time.
read the same thing 3 times. A woman behind the podium, behind another podium. Yeah, we heard.
Got past Conrad.
where we
Past
at?
all of that.
Past the Bucks.
Yeah.
We're past the Bucks. We're on the next segment after the Bucks come out.
Oh, right.
We talk about other stuff like 20 minutes here.
Bro, we've already gone through this, dude.
All right.
Not the superior
Where
one.
we at? Okay, here's the next thing.
A woman.
Tully Blanchard, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler
There we go.
versus Jurassic Express. Have we
Fine.
gone there yet?
No.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right.
Tully.
You're talking about Hogan and Austin.
Right.
I don't know what
So
happened.
Tully
Yeah.
was dressed up like a
What was
like
he
a-
dressed up like a race
Okay,
car
so
driver, a ballerina?
Can I say this? I
For
mean,
his-
I had him at male figure skater. That's what
There,
happened.
yeah, that's not.
What do
That's
you-
not
okay,
I'll go
this
with
is-
that.
Yeah.
With those boots, he looked like he was fixing to shoot out of a cannon.
Yeah, Evil Knievel, yeah.
Yeah.
He was tremendous.
I was happy to see Tully, and I'm glad that we're on this match. So everyone can talk about the big surprise at the end, which is the big return of Ty Dillinger and Sean Spears. Fantastic. Everyone's been looking forward to this guy
I was
coming back
surprised.
with his 4th haircut and dye job to try to get him over again. This guy's the luckiest guy to be under contract and have friends.
What'd you guys think of this segment?
Jesus.
I love how Tony started off fighting the little dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
they
want-
protected Tully. They didn't have him do anything that made him look bad. But this was, to me, this is
That spot
flat.
at the end was kind of weird with the guy with the who's this camera guy and another guy that I had forgotten was even on the show, Sean Spears.
Right. So
I
now
had forgotten about him as well.
it looks like they're finally putting Spears with the Revival because Arn came out and did the Horsemen. Maybe now they're finally doing that Horseman group we were talking about all last summer. Maybe now's
And
the
J.J. Dillon.
That was great. Yeah, JJ was cool to see too. Yeah,
I'm done with Luchasaurus. He sucks.
I think that's the consensus, really.
Yeah,
Right, time out, Joe.
No mistaken.
Joe, yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
You were really J.J. Dillon. You were excited to see J.J. Dillon.
I like JJ. All right, JJ was one of my first guests, And I consider JJ a personal friend. We're buddies, so I was happy to see him.
He
Okay,
did not
well,
have
what-
kind words to say about you when he
What did
JJ
he do
buried
on
me?
the show
He
that
did not.
made you like?
Nothing, but it was that. It's that.
How would you rate his performance?
He didn't do it. He was fine. He didn't do anything.
did nothing,
but it's just
right?
like the nostalgia of seeing the Horseman manager. You know, it was a surprise.
Right.
I don't have a problem with
So-
stuff like that.
All right, so the next thing is this is very strange. Okay, so Tully, Dax, and Cash defeated the Luchasaurus guys.
Right.
A masked man, still
Jesus
extremely
Christ.
confused who this was and why. A masked man enters. They dismiss him. This is
No, the funniest part is when the guy goes, "Yeah, it's a camera guy," and JR goes, "It's a plant, for God's sake."
Would you be
Yeah,
serious?
what do you guys got? JR
That was
they
great.
try to tell the story, but it was so obvious that JR's
Right.
story was better that JR just said it. Oh my god!
Yeah, come on, guys, get with this plan.
Yeah.
What do you guys say to this?
The finish is kind of weird.
It's Sean Spears.
I don't give a
Yeah.
about Sean Spears. That's how I felt about it. I don't
feel bad for
you
him.
know. He just he got a bunch of chances in WWE. He's got a bunch of chances here because he's Cody's friend, and he's just never. I don't care to see him. I mean, it's
All right,
just
next.
it.
Yeah, let's
That
go.
was the weirdest thing when the match is over and they're slowly walking out, and Tony Schiavone already starts talking about the next whatever part of the show, and everyone's kind of walking in front of him, and
So what they don't.
What
They don't
did the guy mutter to?
very bizarre.
he said JJ goes, "That was the best thing you've ever seen," or some.
Okay, they're now. I thought they were mouthing off to each other for a second. I didn't know it was going.
Me
All right,
too.
let's continue because this gets funnier. So then Paul Wight comes out, and him and they're in the middle of what is supposed to be kind of maybe the heat, and they're kind of leaving, and Tony's coming out.
Right.
And they're it's all one set.
And what a weird way to
very-
make an announcement. Sunday,
Yeah.
something's going to happen that I already know about, just so you know.
Yeah, well, he said it's going to be a talent reveal. That this guy is a potential Hall of Famer. He should be in the Hall of
And
Fame.
Paul, he knows who it is.
Yeah, but he's
Right.
not telling
He
you.
knows who it is, but he's not going to tell you.
Is it
Right.
Kurt Angle?
Right,
Oh
but
my
he,
God, this
I
is
hope. I don't have anything against Kurt, but I hope not because they don't need another guy that's older. And Kurt.
I don't have.
What if they hired
don't,
you?
don't even
should
talk
hire
about
me.
that. Don't even talk about that.
That's what's gonna happen.
Let's talk about the
gonna
way
be-
the reveal was presented,
Yeah.
right.
which is Paul, you're just. Why don't you just tell us who it is?
Because you got to buy the pay per view to find out.
You know who it is. Wouldn't it be better to advertise who it is? If
Right.
he's that big, and have
Right.
people come and watch the show next week. Tell us who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
what a
but
weird
then-
way to make an announcement.
Yeah, you want to tell the guy, Paul, if this guy's so big, why don't you just tell us who it is, as opposed to we have to tune in to find out who it is?
yeah.
That makes me seem like, okay, you're working me.
And these days, you don't even.
It's just because you're trying to get me to
buy
buy
it,
in on your word when you could just tell me who it is. But and it'd be I'll definitely submit my money, but you don't even want to tell me.
And these
So,
days, you don't even have to buy the pay per view to find out because 15 seconds later, it's going to be on Twitter. So you
That is,
know.
that is
Yes, sir.
it got people
Right.
talking on Twitter. They brought out Paul Wight without any they announced him, so they want a little surprise. So it,
I would
Yeah,
like to say
and-
that in all the years we've been doing this, including Christmas parties, this may be the most lit I've ever seen disco. But go ahead.
all right.
Yeah.
So
How about
next
that?
thing,
Hey, we gotta listen. We gotta talk about
How
the
about
press.
that shirt they gave Paul White? No more BS. Get it?
That was stupid.
All right, let's talk
All right.
about the Jericho press conference.
what now?
Nothing.
we're done with the press conference.
Oh, okay.
We're-
We did that already.